Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of James Jam. I'm Jane, this is my jam. Alright, today's video is going to be a little bit different than normal. It is going to be a story time. And to those of you out there that have not watched me before, would love it if you'd like and comment. I probably won't do a whole lot more videos this way, but hey, you never know. And for those of you who already subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate it. And just, yeah, thought I'd do a little story time and let you know about my experience. So, I know the title already gives some of this away, and you'll see where I'm going pretty early on, but let me just have a little fun here. So, I worked for the phone company in the basically late 80s, early 90s, and then there was another short stint in the 2000s. But this took place in the 90s, and well, I mean, I started in the late 80s and into the 90s, and I was customer service. And customer service at the time consisted of any questions people would have on their phone bills, and or putting in new service, and like starting a new account, and we also, there was a lot of pressure for sales at that time. And at the time, okay, just to even date back, for those of you who have been around a while, that first the big thing to come to telephones was touch tone. You had to pay extra $1.50 for touch tone on your telephone. After that, they got call waiting. And then they were able to, the first round of enhancements was actually call waiting, call forwarding, speed dialing, and three-way calling. Eventually, in more metropolitan areas, there was also automatic callback. There were three more. And yeah, but beside the fact, at the time, there was just the 4 additional services you could get: call waiting, call forwarding, speed dialing, and three-way calling. And so sales were a big thing. You had to try to sell on every call. And so you get all kinds of people on the phone. Like, for example, one time I had a caller, and she was calling in, and she said that she was calling in that her and her husband were new to the Green Bay area in Wisconsin. And she said that she wanted to put in new service, and then I have to ask questions like, what's your name, or what's the name of the bill going under, what's their social security number, date of birth, address, occupation. And so she said that her spouse worked for the Green Bay Packers. And so me, in my great sports knowledge base, say to her, "Oh, well, that's really interesting. What does he do? Is he like on the grounds crew?" No, he was a Green Bay Packer and a player. And she was not happy with me. She couldn't believe I didn't know who he was very upset about it. Let me know she was very upset about it. And when I tried to go through my spiel to sell her things, she was like, "I'm not buying anything from you. I just want to get off the phone." Needless to say, she made it short, sweet, quick, and called back a day or two later and added a bunch of services to the line, but she was not about to add them when she was on the phone with me. So then I got a phone call, and it was from Mike Tomzak, and he was a Green Bay Packer quarterback, I believe. Maybe backup, but maybe regular at the time. And I thought, when he said he worked for the Green Bay Packers, I am just like, there was a guy that sat behind me, and I'm like, "Hey, yo, I got a Packer on the line. He says he works for the Packers. Do you know who this is?" And he's like, super, super excited. He's like, oh God, yeah, I know he is. And I said, okay. And I went back on the line and I said, thank you so much for holding. I now have a home specialist on the line who'll be glad to put your service or set your service up for you. And I transferred him to my buddy so that I didn't make any mistakes. And he had a field day with the phone call. He loved it. So I've put in phone service for thousands of people. You take how many calls a day, and a lot of them is new service or moves and things like that. And to be 100% honest, I don't remember very many of them. I remember the Green Bay Packer one because she was so upset with me and I felt so stupid. I remembered the other one because my buddy was so excited to get to talk to them. I did, through work, it was interesting, got to meet a number of Packers at the time. Again, this was back in the 90s. So Brian Noble and Jeff Query and Anthony Dilweg and some other old Packer players. But just through things with work, not putting in their phone service. But I remember very, very few calls. But there was one in particular that I remembered because it was so out of the ordinary. It wasn't just one thing. It was all the pieces combined that made me remember the call. So I got a call, and it was a very soft-spoken gentleman, and he got on the phone, and he said he had to put in no phone service, and I asked where he lived, and he said Oxford Apartments in Milwaukee, and I'm like, can I have the address, because I don't just know where the apartment building is. And so then he got me the apartment building, and then I started going through my normal spiel, and he was not very talkative at all. It was like pulling teeth to get him to say anything. And so I had to ask where he worked, and he said he just started at Ambrosia Chocolates. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, Ambrosia Chocolates? I'm like, what do they sell? And he goes, chocolate. But in a softer voice, like, what do you think they sell? And I'm like, oh, I didn't know if they were a candy store or they just sold chocolates. And he's like, just chocolates. And I'm like, okay. I go, well, wow, that's like the perfect name for a place. And, oh, you must go crazy working there. And I mean, I'd be so excited. I don't know what I'd do. And then he kind of just sits there, and I'm like, do you just love it, or is it crazy? And he goes, it's okay. Why? And I'm like, being around chocolate all the time. Oh my gosh, I'd go nuts. I said, or do you eat so much of it you're sick of it? And he says, sorry, I'm just gonna laugh, but he says, I don't eat chocolate. And so I was just shocked, because who doesn't eat chocolate? I'm like, you work at a chocolate store. Who doesn't eat chocolate? So I proceed to try to, again, I'm trying to engage the customer, get a conversation going. And I'm like, you don't like chocolate? How can you not like chocolate? And just silence. And so it was just a very, very difficult call trying to get him to talk. And then I'm like, do you ever have a situation where you're on the phone and then someone else tries to reach you and they can't because your line's busy? So that maybe call waiting might be a good feature for you. And he says, he said he didn't receive very many phone calls. And needless to say, I tried going through speed dialing. I tried going through call forwarding, three-way calling. Yeah, he didn't want nothing. And it was just such an odd phone call. He, like I said, his voice was just soft, and it just killed me that he worked at this place and he didn't eat chocolates. And so it's like one of those things that gets stored in the back of your head, and then you don't really think about it again until the news started coming out about him. And I live in Wisconsin, so there's a lot of information out there. I knew people that worked at the prison where he was, and said that he was very odd there. He'd black out his eyes like a raccoon and go into like talks, and he had to talk with a counselor or whatever. He would and do a lot of kind of weird things to keep the inmates like afraid of him. He liked that. But needless to say, when it all started breaking, I didn't think nothing of it at first. I mean, I certainly didn't remember his name. And then, and of course I'm talking about Jeffrey Dahmer, if you haven't figured that out already. Yeah, his name didn't stand out to me. I definitely did not remember his name. But then the news started coming out, and at first they said that he worked at a candy factory or candy store or something like that. So again, I never put two and two together that was my chocolate guy. And then it came out that it was Ambrosia chocolates. And I'm like, no. It can't be. And I go back and I look, because you can look and see what orders you've put in before. And sure enough, I put in phone service for Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah, that's my story of when I got to talk to him. Not super exciting, but it's more than probably most people can say. Like I said, very soft-spoken. And again, I probably never would remember him, except for number one, I thought Ambrosia Chocolates was the coolest name ever for a chocolate factory. And then that he didn't eat chocolate. And I know I shouldn't even be laughing about this right now or even joking about it, because it's terrible, what he did and what happened. But you kind of think after the fact, like, no kidding, he didn't eat chocolate. But yeah, that's my story. It's just a kind of quick one. And that's when I got to talk to Jeffrey Dahmer. So yeah, he talks just like, if you've ever watched any of the interviews on TV, that's exactly how he talked during our conversation. It's very slow. It's almost like calculated, and doesn't speak if he doesn't need to. And yeah, so just a plain old phone line, not even any call waiting on that sale. But that's my story. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I'll be back next time with some more regular content. I put out videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And again, please like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, please do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Thanks. Bye.